Hello and welcome to Steve's Vintage Model Builds, where today we're going to build a lasagna. Yeah, yummy. Okay, so I hope everybody's well. Celebrating today for a couple of reasons. First reason, most importantly, it's our 21st anniversary. Woohoo! Happy anniversary! Mostly wedded bliss, and when it hasn't been, it's usually my fault. But in any case, and even if it isn't my fault, it's my fault. You know how that goes. Yeah. So, anyways, so we're gonna build the lasagna today. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the sauce today. I like to make the sauce the day before because, like a stew, and I do this for like cabbage rolls and things like that as well. Stuffed peppers. I like to do it the day before and then let it set in the fridge overnight, and all the flavors get happy and fully absorbed and developed, and makes a big difference. But you can do it the same day. There's no reason you can't. Also, when you put it in the fridge overnight, it's a lot. It's not as loose. It's not as liquidy. So that's always good. Everybody likes a nice thick sauce. So and of course, lasagna, the type of lasagna we're going to do today is typically in Italy called Lasagna al Forno. Forno being oven, it's baked in the oven. And the Greeks also do a version. They use like a macaroni almost, and they use that as the base, and then they put the tomato meat mix on top, and then they cover that with a bechamel sauce. So it's kind of like moussaka, but it's not. And I think it's pronounced pasista. I think pasisto. That's how you say it, I think. Sorry, guys. Anyways, yeah. So pasta, pasisto. Yeah. So that's where that comes from. Okay, so but before we get on to this, I wanted to show you a couple of things, and inflation's high. Money's tight, and even if you're doing okay, I'm sure you're probably looking for ways to save money. And with the cooler weather coming, and speaking of which, it's a cool, wet day here today. It's been very frosty at night, quite cold in the morning, so it's perfect time for soup. And it doesn't need to be a really big deal. I buy this. I'm sure you can get it at whatever supermarket. Can you see that? And it's soup mix. This one comes from the Loblaws Superstore, where we shop, and it's part of their blue menu. Their blue menu is products that are healthier. So this contains green and yellow split peas, rice, pearl barley, and red split lentils. So I don't know if you can see what they look like there. Anyways, so and this is really easy to make. I think this costs about $3.50 for this, Canadian. I'm going to change this, put this down so you can see. There you go. So yeah, about $3.50 Canadian. They give you a recipe on the back. Basically, all you need is a little bit of onion, a little bit of garlic, and you fry that up. Lightly fry it or saute it in some olive oil. And then you add the soup mix, and because it's just the two of us, one can like this of diced tomatoes is enough. But if it's 4 people or even more, these are stewed tomatoes, but this size can, whatever it is, 28 fluid ounce, 796 milliliters, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, and so then and then you just add the soup mix and some chicken broth, about a liter, and you let it simmer for a bit, and you end up with a really nice hearty soup. It's nutritious as all get out, and it's tasty, tasty, tasty. And of course, you can add your own vegetables to it if you want. If you wanted to cut up some celery or carrots, as it shows here. I don't know if you can see that. And but it's a very nice, colorful soup. It's very filling and very nutritious. So there you go. Lots of fiber. Yeah. And of course, you can make your own. You can make your own soup mix. I mean, you can get the rice, you can get the lentils, whatever you want to do. But it's just so convenient to get that. And a package like that, I think it's about a third of a package for 4 servings, and they're hearty servings. Yeah, that would be, 3 meals for 4 people. Yeah. Bit of crusty bread. There you go. Bob's your uncle, as they say. Okay, so yeah, you don't want to be looking at my tummy, I don't think. But here we have something a little different. Peter Oxley will like this, I think. And as you can see, this is vacuum packed. But this is called Bangus Relleno, like chili relleno, except it's a vamos, which is a milkfish, and it's stuffed with pork. It's stuffed fish. The bones are out, and this one's already been pre-cooked, so we're having this for our dinner tonight. We had friends come from the mainland earlier on Monday, last Monday, Thanksgiving Monday, and Filipinos, and they brought us a whole bunch of goodies that we can't get here. So there was that. There's something called impatito, which is like it's like a meatloaf shape, but it's shaped like a log. And what you do is you cut off pieces into little discs about, that big or whatever, and then you fry them up, and it's really delicious. Good stuff. So, okay, back to the star of the show. There, is that better? Okay, here we go. Okay, and I'll put up a recipe. It's pretty basic stuff. It is a little different than your regular pasta sauce. One sec. Bay leaves. Okay, so I've got here, you can use just beef. I like to use, this is a beef and pork mix that's done at the store and packaged up. I use it for a lot of things, all kinds of sauces like this. As I said, you can just use regular beef. I'm making a big lasagna because we're having people coming over tomorrow. But this is 1.35 kilos, which I guess is about 3 pounds. But you could get away with 1 pound and it's very scalable. So, and if you're going to do if you're going to do your own pork and beef mix, usually it's 2 beef to 1 pork, 2 to 1. But of course, it all goes to taste, but that's a good place to start. And get this out of here. And you could also use ground lamb, and You know, you could do like a chicken lasagna if you wanted to, or vegetable. They're usually done with a white sauce, though. Trusty towel. Gotta have the tea towel on my shoulder. Okay, so I'm gonna get a very large pot. Very large pot. Turn it on. And get the little beaver for the cans. We'll deal with that after. Okay, so I may or may not use this. It depends on how the final sauce ends up. But I always like to, and I like the San Remo products. They're really good. And instead of tomato sauce, I've got crushed tomatoes here. Sliced stewed tomatoes. I like these. Obviously, they're stewed. they're not just canned. And also, they have other ingredients. They have things like celery and onion, celery, green peppers. And so, anyways, and I worked for a guy once in California. He was retired lieutenant commander in the Navy. Quite a fella. Anyways, he was in his 90s when I was taking care of him. So, anyways, he used to like these just straight out of the can. So, and then so we got 2 cans of the sliced stewed, and 1 can of the whole plum tomatoes. We've got some Italian style seasoning. I also have some oregano from our garden, dried oregano from our garden. This is my, it says garlic powder, but it's my mix of garlic and onion powder. We'll need that. We'll need some fresh onions. These are little ones. These are the, actually just pulled these out of the garden a week or 2 ago. So, yeah, they're small, but they're good, you know. And I don't mind the small onions because, you know what happens? You cut into an onion, you use half of it, and then you wrap it up and you put it in the fridge and it sits there, and yeah, so the small ones are good. Okay, and yeah, so, and we've got some red chili flakes and some cayenne pepper. You can use you can use hot sauce if you want, but hot sauce has a lot of salt in it. So if you're concerned about salt, you probably don't, because you'd have to use a lot to spice it up. Whereas this just a little bit. But if you do use hot sauce, of course, you want to reduce the salt. Otherwise. Okay, speaking of which, yeah, we've got some kosher salt, we've got bay leaves, garlic chips. You've seen these before on the channel. These are sliced garlic, flash fried, and they're great. They keep forever, and yeah, so. Okay, so got our trusty implement here. And we're going to brown this up. And it's one of my pet peeves. Okay, we're browning. We're not graying. Okay, we're browning the beef, or the meat. We're not graying it. So one of the things you learn first about cooking is layering flavors, and this is the first layer. So you want to get this nicely browned up. It'll take probably 20 minutes or so to do it all. Oh, yes, and the other reason to celebrate is that the evil Hamas leader met his end like a cornered rat, and he's now on an eternal search for virgins, a never-ending search, one that will never come to fruition. I expect right now he's not enjoying the barbecue. Anyways, enough of that. So yeah, so that's reason to celebrate. Another reason to celebrate is tomorrow is the advanced polls have already opened, but tomorrow is the final day of our provincial election here in British Columbia. I've worked for our local candidate, Dale Parker, volunteering for him this time, and so it's really looking like the Conservatives are going to wrest power from the Socialists and Greens. Anyway, so yeah, we have people coming over tomorrow, and then you know, the polls close, I guess, at 8 o'clock or whatever, and so I don't think they're too interested in politics, but I am, so I'll excuse myself. They usually don't stay very late anyways. It's my wife's prayer group, and so they come and they do their thing, which I don't usually join. Then when that's done, we eat, and that's pretty much it. Two of the couples have young children, and so anyways, yeah, so they want to be getting home and getting the kids to bed. Okay, so while we're simmering that, I'm going to take the onions and dice them up. Use the big dog today. Go. I like it better the other way. Oh, yeah, here's something. Here's a trick. If you're going to do this, and this works on the counter too, just put a damp cloth down and keep it from sliding around. And you're going to see a lot of water come out of this, which is okay. That's going to just pretty much boil off. Okay. You know, and a lot of people have a lot of problems with cutting onions. I don't particularly. One thing you can do, though, if it bothers you, is wear a pair of glasses, just regular glasses. And that way the sulfur that's released when you break the cell structure, you know, it hits the glasses rather than your eyes. It doesn't mix with your tears, so that's something people might find helpful. And there's so many ways to cut an onion. I'm not gonna, you know, you've seen how I'm doing it here. There's other ways with the larger onion. You know, you do this and then but anyways, so oops, that's good. So in addition to the onion powder and garlic powder, I'm also going to put onions in. If you're going to use fresh garlic, you don't want fresh garlic to go in until near the end. If you put it in too early, it'll turn all bitter and it won't taste good. So that's why I use the garlic powder and onion powder mix first, and then if I want, I can add some fresh chopped garlic later. That's another advantage of the garlic chips. They're already cooked, so they're not gonna stir around. And yeah, the U.S. hit the Houthis, blew up some of their underground ammunition storage bunkers with very large bombs delivered by the B-2. So I think that was a bit of a message to Iran too. I don't know why they. Anyways, I don't want to get into all the politics, but you know, I don't know why they haven't pounded these punks into the sand long before now. They've disrupted international shipping. They've caused damage and casualties. The Suez Canal is closed, as if, you know, Egypt wasn't already nearly broke. And yeah. So, anyways, it's also a message to Iran. You know, we can go anywhere, we can do whatever we want, so don't push it. And it also seems that, well, no, I'm not going to go there, not today. If you want to hear talk about that, you can go to my other channel, My Take on It, and I will put a link where I do analysis and commentary of events that are ongoing in the Middle East. And I do try to keep politics separate from this channel. Okay. Okay, so we've got that. Okay, a nice big bowl with a strainer. So you want to keep stirring this because you don't want this meat to boil in the water. You want to get rid of the water as quick as you can. And that's when the browning will occur, when all that's left is fat. And so you can see there the liquid. And way there. Okay, yeah, so we get the, okay, beaver going here. Put these through the strainer. Can. So you can see the bits of celery and green pepper in there. Adds nice flavor. And the reason I separate them is that, first of all, these are whole, and also these are cooked already, so they've already been broken down quite a bit. And we won't need this till later. Okay. I like to cook off the moisture, because if you pour it out, you're pouring out the fat along with it. So, and of course, as we know, fat is flavor. Geez, we're already half an hour in. Okay, so I'm going to pause this, and then we'll I'll restart when the browning's done and we're ready to move to the next step. Okay. Oh, and I should have said, yeah, we're on medium-high heat here. And as you can see, there's the liquid that's there is almost all fat now. And there isn't really that much. So, but if you want to drain it out, you can. Oh, and I think I found a way I can connect two videos back to back. So, yeah, like I said, this will be in 2 parts, but hopefully it'll be all one video. Okay. Okay, so now that we're there, I use this. So, actually, I shouldn't have done that in case somebody has a problem with MSG. Anyways, they're all Asian, so I don't. Anyway, so okay, so here we go. There's that. Okay, so we're going to start building the layers. First, we start with a good amount of salt. You know, a good amount of salt. And the thing about salt is, first of all, your body needs it. It's an electrochemical conductor. Which is why they call it an electrolyte. And okay, so yeah, so here we are. We're building more flavor here. Okay, we added the garlic and onion powder. Maybe about a half a teaspoon of that. The other thing about salt is you want to do it at the beginning. You want to make sure it's properly salted at the beginning, because you can never make up for it once it's at the end. You have to pour so much salt on it that all you get is salt. So here it's the flavor enhancer. Ooh, that cayenne pepper. Ooh, baby. That'll clear your nostrils. There we go. Okay, so we're going along pretty good here. Ooh, you should smell that. Oh, it's... Okay. Oh, yeah, and I find at this step it's best to use the dried herbs, whether you buy them separately or in a package mixed together like this. Excuse me. And the thing to remember, though, is that you need about 3 times as much fresh as dried. So the dried, the flavor is much more concentrated. Okay, so we got the salt in, we got the Maggi sauce in, we got the garlic powder and onion powder in, and next we're going to put the onions. Okay. Secret tip of the day. Isn't that funny? It comes out, yeah, it's red on the stove, but it's like blue when you, anyways. Okay, tip of the week. Baking soda. Now, baking soda is good for all sorts of things. A lot of Asian restaurants use it to tenderize meat. And it doesn't take a lot, so, you know, you don't taste baking soda at all. And what it does is it helps to tenderize the meat. But when it comes to things like onions and tomatoes, it causes them to break down much quicker. So you don't have to simmer your sauce for 3.5 days. Okay, so yeah, so what we're going to do, we're just we want these onions to pretty much just turn translucent and soften up. I'm going to toss in a couple garlic chips just because I like them. And they'll all break down anyways, you know, that you won't get big chunks of garlic. They'll all just melt into it. Make for awesome deliciousness. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, normally it would take 10 minutes or so, 10-15 minutes for these to break down and turn translucent, but they're already almost there. Oh, and the salt that I put in there, I'll show you this. There's what I put in was okay. if you cup your hand like this, is just rough, but if you cup your hand like this and you fill the little crater with salt, that's about a tablespoon. Okay, and if you want a teaspoon, then you open your hand a little bit more, you pour it on just so it makes a teaspoon-sized circle, a little pile. So that's a tip for measuring if you don't want to bother. Something like this, you know, when you're baking, you know, salt is very important. Or the right proportions are very important. But in something like this, you really have to go overboard with something for it to be, you know. And if you don't like garlic, you probably shouldn't be eating Italian lasagna. Go with the Greek style. Although I expect they use garlic too. Although I've never made the Greek style. I've made moussaka, but not the Greek style lasagna. And of course, moussaka uses eggplant instead of pasta. So, okay. So when you start to feel the meat mixture kind of sticking to the bottom, you're almost there. You're almost there. Okay. Okay. Why did he spend all that time letting the moisture boil off and then toss in a bunch of more moisture? Okay, the reason for that is it's tomato water. Okay, and what'll happen is that the water again will evaporate off, leaving a concentrated tomato flavor. Which, I mean, who doesn't want a concentrated tomato flavor, right? So it's all about tomatoes. I've also got a few fresh tomatoes from well, they were fresh. They're in I got them out of the freezer. And so one of the advantages to putting them in the freezer is that when you thaw them out, the skins just peel right off. Now, the thing about tomatoes too is if you put them in the fridge, if you've ever had like a fresh tomato, well, yeah, if you've ever had a fresh tomato, then you're like, this doesn't taste anything at all like what we get in the supermarket. Even if it's organic. Which I don't usually bother with, but that's a whole other thing. And the reason is that they're refrigerated, and when they go, I think it's below 45 Fahrenheit. The internal chemical composition changes. There's a chemical that changes from one thing to another thing, and it changes the flavor. And so, excuse me. If you don't want to refrigerate your tomatoes, but you want to take the skin off, what you can do is you can plunge them into boiling water for about a minute, maybe not even, depending on how thick the skins are. And then you take them out, put them in an ice water bath, and then you can just peel it off. So We have so much tomatoes. We have so many tomatoes of so many different kinds. I was a good boy this year, and I think I only planted 3 different varieties, 4 if you count the little ones. And but we always get a good harvest, and the tomatoes, they last us through the winter, pretty much. So as you can see here, got a lot of water draining off. And these were just frozen whole, so I'm just going to take off the stem part. Okay. So the difference between this and a regular marinara sauce or carbonara sauce, whatever, you don't want this chunky. You want it smooth, so that you have nice smooth layers of meat and cheese and pasta, nice and tender all around. Yum. Okay, so that's gone in, and we can put the bay leaves. I usually put 1, 2 fair-sized ones. Just remember how many you put in. That's 2 and a little one. You don't want to eat these after they've been cooked. They will make you sick. Some recipes do call for crushed bay leaves, but I never use them because, yeah, they can really upset your stomach. But the recipes I've seen, it's only just a little bit, so yeah. So, but I like to use the whole leaves, and you just have to fish them out later. It's no big deal. Okay, so next step, we're just waiting for this to boil down a bit. You can see the amount of liquid we have here. So that's going to take some time to stew down. So I'm going to take a break. Okay, so we've reduced that liquid by about half now, and in go the fresh tomatoes, or the fresh frozen tomatoes, and the plum tomatoes. I gave it a taste. Yeah, that's before you add the tomatoes, you want to give it a taste, and it was a little salty, but that's okay because we're adding all these tomatoes. So and I also took the smasher and broke them up. You can do that before they go in, or you can put them in and let them cook a little bit, soften up, and then you can use the smasher in the pot. Okay, so unlike with the meat mixture, we're not waiting for all of the liquid to evaporate, and we're going to let these go for, I don't know, about another 10 minutes. Just kind of, you know, partially cook them, whatever. Because like I said, the stewed tomatoes are already cooked. So, a little nasty bit there, we don't want that. Oh, and the other thing too is, restaurants do this a lot, is, excuse me, they use tomato powder, and that gives a really intense flavor. Oh, I also forgot. We'll need some, what do you call it? Actually, I'm going to get a fresh can. We're going to need a whole can of tomato paste. And I mentioned this before. This is they call it No Name. That's their store brand. Years ago they came up with it. You know, different stores, you know, they have their store brand, but they just came up with No Name. And yeah, they're very basic. This is one of the simple ones. Not a lot of ingredients, basically just a bit of salt and tomato. But that doesn't go in till the end. Oh, and if you're going to use the smusher, make sure your bay leaves are out of the way. Yeah. You don't want to break up the bay leaves. There we go. Like I said, too much will make you sick, but yeah, I mean, if you bite into one, you get one in your mouth, it's a terrible flavor. So, after they've been stewed. Okay, so yeah, a bit more of that. I don't think we'll need any more after this. And the other thing you can do if you want to kick it up a notch is once your sauce is done, and you want to, once your sauce is done, you can let it cool off, and you can put it in the food processor with a blade and grind it up super fine so it almost becomes a paste. I don't bother to do that. You could also use one of those immersion blender things, but even though it's not supposed to be chunky, I like to have the texture of the meat, and so that's what I do. That's what I don't do. Use a little bit more cayenne. There we go. Now, I said that I tasted it and it didn't need salt. If it did need salt, though, at that point, I would probably use soy sauce. And soy sauce is good because not only do you get the saltiness, but you also it also gives you a nice dark color. So next layer of herbs. These are nice and fresh. You can smell the licoricness of the basil. Yeah. Okay, so these are broken down enough. And now, oh yeah, don't just plunk it in, okay? Use the spoon. Here, I'll show you how. Okay, especially with hot liquids, you know, you don't want to just be plunking it in. So here's what you want to do. You want to maybe get it started here with a bit. And if you are going to plunk it in like that, put the spoon under it so it doesn't go slop all over the place and burn your arm or whatever. Okay. Oh, and I should say for just a regular lasagna, I would probably use 2 cans of the tomatoes, one each of the stewed and the plum tomatoes, and maybe an additional one of these, depending on how saucy you want it. So but yeah, see how this is thickening up already? I mean, yeah. Okay, I'm going to use one of these. Let's put it over the top here. That'll keep stuff from splattering out while it bubbles, toils, and troubles. Now, if you wanted to, I like to let mine stew down, but if you wanted to, you got to make sure it's in the right kind of pot. I'm not sure if this one would be good because of the handles, though I think these are supposed to be heat proof. But if you really wanted to, you could put it in the oven, just with the lid cracked, so the moisture can escape. And that would give you a really nice concentrated flavor. And you know, on a cold winter's day, I remember my mom when it was a particularly cold day, and there was only about that much ketchup left in the bottle. My mom would make stew, and she made her stew in the oven. Oh boy, she made good stew. She wasn't the best cook in the world, but she made great stew. Anyways, yeah, and she would, you know, back in the day, that was, you know, ketchup came in the bottle, and, you know, getting the last bit of ketchup out of the bottle was like, you know, there was no squeeze stuff. It was just, anyways. So, what she would do is, you know, she would pour a little bit of water in, shake it up, and then pour that in with the stew, and probably added some more ketchup. But yeah, so, and, you know, and she would do it partly because, in large part, because it was a good way to heat up the kitchen and heat up the house. I mean, you kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I mean, we had a nice house, and my dad made good money, but it wasn't until later that my mom went back to work. And so, you know, they always worked on a really tight budget. So that was one way that, you know, and she spent most of her time, you know, don't get me wrong when I say this, but she spent a lot of time in the kitchen, either doing kitchen things or, you know, she would have neighborhood ladies come over for coffee and they'd sit in the kitchen. And, you know, that's the way things were back then. And so, yeah, so, yeah. Miss you, Mom. You too, Dad. Anyways. So, okay, so we've got this all in now. And really all we need to do is let it stew down. So I'm going to pause. And I will, hopefully, it won't stop. We're just about up to an hour now. But yeah, hopefully it won't, my computer, whatever thing won't stop. So yeah, we're just going to let this simmer down, as it were, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like, and we'll add the crushed tomatoes, and or the strained tomatoes, and the tomato paste. See you in a bit. Okay, so we're rounding the clubhouse turn here, and turn this up so you can see me. Can you see me? Oh, wait. There, that's better. Okay, so here we are. And I'll point this down. So, can you see how that looks now? There's a bit of a sheen to it. And the other thing too is that as it gets closer to being done, it's going to return to a boil quicker after you stir it. So and I did taste it and added a bit of soy sauce, as I mentioned. And now I'm going to take out the bay leaves. Come on now. That's right enough. Where are you? Okay, back on pause while I find the bay leaf. There now, I even found that little piece. Okay, so I'm going to go in with the smusher here. These tomatoes are so soft now that you know, they just pretty much smush all in. We're gonna stew this down a little bit more. So there we go. There, that's a lot less messy than the... Okay, so that had been turned down to low to simmer. And now I'm going to turn it up a little bit to medium. And the strained tomatoes go in. And this isn't a big budget cooking show, so we turn this upside down and wait for the rest of it to drain down. Excuse me. Oh, it's a rainy, blustery, late October day. I kind of wish we were having this tonight. Yeah, well, we'll have it tomorrow. It's okay. There we go. Okay, so we got that in nicely incorporated. And next is the tomato paste. Oh, and the other thing you can do as well is, if you want and you're so inclined, is you can grate in some Parmesan cheese, or the stuff from the whatever. That'll help to thicken it. That will make it more salty as well, so you have to be careful of that. So now the thing with the tomato paste is it's sweet, which is good. And some people put a bit of sugar in their lasagna sauce. I don't. I like things more savory. So we're just gonna make sure that's all stirred in really well. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. It's nice and fine, but it's also I'm gonna stew it down for a bit longer, and then I'll add the rest of this. This is almost ready, anyways. Because this isn't tomato sauce like you get in a can; it's strained tomatoes. So. Has a more tomatoey flavor. Okay. Alright, there we go. So this gets turned down to quite low, ultra low, just to kind of simmer away. Alright, and that's already coming up to boil again. You're seeing the bubbling. Okay, and one more taste here after all that stuff goes in. Now we got a real sauce here. Ha 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 ha. You see that? You see that? Yeah. My goodness, that's so good. Oh. And that cayenne creeps up on you afterwards. Yummy. Ooh, great stuff. So yeah, a little bit more garlic and onion powder. And of course, remember too, this is going in lasagna. So, there's going to be a lot of cheese, which has salt. So, yeah, that's got a nice little bite to it. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. This is just going to stay on low for about probably about 15-20 minutes, just to kind of let it all, find the love. And then it'll come off the heat. I'll set it aside, let it cool off. Then it'll go in the fridge overnight. And like I said, it'll be magically delicious in the morning or tomorrow. So yeah, so that's all there is to it. So thanks for joining me. And we'll have part 2 where I actually assemble the lasagna and bake it. And so thanks for joining me. Hope everybody's enjoyed it. And if if you're interested, I'm going to do a little video on how to cook that Bangus Relleno. I'll be doing that in a little while too. Okay, so thanks again. Really appreciate everybody's time. Thanks for indulging me, and I hope you've found it interesting and maybe learned something. And we'll see you on the next video for the assembly. Bye now.